Welcome to Chalk and Code,
where the science of learning meets modern technology.
We're bringing together entrepreneurs, product leaders, researchers, and advocates
to spark ideas, challenge assumptions, and shape the future of learning.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Chalk and Code. Our guest today is Allie Fuchs, Vice President of Product at Pathful, where she leads product strategy for the company's career readiness platform that helps connect K-12 learning with real-world workforce opportunities. Allie began her career as a physics and algebra teacher and special education administrator in New Orleans, and later leading at companies like Nearpod and Clever. She brings together classroom experience and nearly a decade in Edtech product development focused on improving student outcomes and making teachers' lives easier. Welcome, Allie. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Jill.
Please, let's start out. Can you share a little bit about Pathful and talk a little bit about the product and the mission?
Yeah, absolutely. So Pathful is a career readiness and development company. Our goal is to support students at every stage of career readiness, from awareness and exploration through preparation, and then finally placement when they're ready for that first work experience. We actually have 4 products that we offer currently. We have Pathful Career Readiness and Development, which is our sort of flagship product that is what people typically think of when they think of Pathful. This is where students come to take career readiness assessments, research careers, and continue to learn about all of the elements of that career that they're going to be pursuing. We have, and I'll talk a lot more about that product in a bit. We have Job Ready 360, which is a company that we recently acquired. 2 of their products that we offer: Job Ready WBL, which is everything that a school district needs to monitor compliance and handle all of the logistics of their work-based learning initiatives, and Job Ready CTE, which does everything Job Ready WBL does, plus some really incredible features for making sure that your CTE program is running smoothly, really just the one-stop shop for a CTE coordinator to have everything that they need for compliance. And then finally, we have Pathful Junior, which is our animated K-5 career awareness platform. Really, with this suite of products, what makes me excited about it, and I'm sure we'll dive into the Job Ready integration later as we continue talking, is we are able to support everything that a school district is doing to prepare students for life after school. So whether that is the elements of compliance and making sure that they are tracking and ensuring that every student has what they need to graduate, and also ensuring really authentic career experiences for every student in their district.
Awesome. Yeah, something like 70% of graduates feel unprepared for life after high school. What specific product features did you design into these products to directly direct this readiness gap?
Yeah, there are, I think, 2 elements to that's a really great question. There are 2 elements to career readiness and development in the way that we think about it. There is compliance, and what does a district need to support students to make sure every student has a plan, and to make sure that every single student is getting equitable access to career readiness resources. And then there is what we consider authentic career experiences. And I really think for students to feel truly prepared for life after graduation, they need both of those. So, from a compliance perspective, we ensure that every single student has a really strong plan for what they are going to do after school. And a lot of districts are starting those as early as 6th grade. So, I'm excited to share that for the new school year, we are completely revamping what is currently our post-secondary plan to become a comprehensive career plan, where districts can ensure students have a top career and multiple careers that they're interested in pursuing, that they have an education plan, whether that's certificate, post-secondary education, apprenticeship, whatever is needed to reach that career for after they leave school, and then a detail of the activities that they've done during their 6-12 education to prepare for that career, really ensuring that districts can make sure every student is having those experiences. But I think a big part of why students don't feel prepared leaving K-12 education or even college and entering the world of work is students have very limited exposure during their education to the world of work. So the other features that we've developed are those features that are giving students real exposure to the world of work, either live or asynchronously. So a little bit of a history of Pathful. Pathful is a company that was originally birthed from two companies, Virtual Job Shadow and Nepris. And both of those companies, their core mission was around providing authentic experiences related to careers for students. They approach them in slightly different ways. And so by bringing those two companies together, we're able to offer some really amazing ways for students to experience careers. Virtual Job Shadow has had, and we still have, a production film crew that travels the country, meeting people in their jobs and capturing their stories on film so that students can hear directly from people in these jobs. I just asked my team this morning what number we're at. We have 550 careers that we have filmed, real people doing real jobs where we've asked them the questions that students have about their jobs. So students can, more than just reading a page of data about a career, really hear from someone who is working in that job. And then on the Nepris side, the functionality that we maintain in Pathful and still have today is the ability for teachers to reach out to us and request individuals to come and present about their career to their students. So we'll get a request from a teacher that says, I have these students who are interested in architecture, but they don't know enough about it. They have a lot of questions. We have a vast network of volunteers that we work with who will then come and speak to that classroom about their career and help them better understand not just what to expect, but how the students can position themselves now to achieve that goal someday.
I love that real world exposure, and I think about my own kids, and it's like they go onto YouTube or TikTok or Discord. They're finding career information in these other alternative spaces. So I love that you guys are doing this and going out. You've got so many different industry partners. How do you maintain sort of quality and authenticity of career experience across such a large and diverse network that you're working with to create this content?
So I think that is where Pathful is uniquely positioned because we work directly with industry and directly with K-12. About a third to half of our company has education experience. And so people who were in classrooms, who were school counselors, and those who are on our curriculum and content team are curriculum experts. So we see Pathful as bringing the education perspective, but I'll be honest, I don't really know a lot about what an epidemiologist does in their day to day. I'm not going to be able to create a lesson on that. And even if I were to research online, it's really hard to create an authentic experience for students. So we will go out and find and talk to people in that job. For example, there's an epidemiologist that we work with in Raleigh, North Carolina, and she worked with us, talked to us about her work, helped walk through some scenarios that she frequently encounters. And then our curriculum team is able to take that and translate that into what is scaffolded and appropriate for students. And we really aim to keep the rigor and the intention of what an individual would be doing in their job, but just give teachers and students the resources so that they can simulate that in their classroom or in their school structure.
Yeah, that's great. Here's a tough question. I noticed that on your website, I was looking at some of the great videos that you guys have, and there's a social media influencer job represented there. And I'm sure that a lot of kids in middle school and high school are super interested in that path. Yet it's very difficult to become a big time influencer and actually make a huge income. So, how do you kind of balance appealing to young people and getting them to use these programs while making sure that their expectations are realistic?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of our kind of key tenets as we develop our content is authenticity. And there are other programs out there that don't acknowledge the existence of these careers that are kind of the for lack of better word, viral careers of the moment. And what we found is when we're missing those careers, we get feedback from students. And I love when students tell me what our platform needs to be. It's a lot of fun. So we'll hear from students and say, but you're missing this job. And it takes away our credibility when we are not featuring jobs that they're seeing, because that makes them think that we are just another education tool. We're just the textbook and we're not actually providing a full picture of the world of work. That said, we do need to make sure that we're painting a realistic picture of these careers. So we'll make sure in those interviews, and well, in every interview that we do, the person's talking about the positives of their career, but also some of the difficulties and negatives. What is it like to, be constantly on display and constantly available for comment on the internet? That's not always as glamorous as it seems to young people. And we also are very transparent about what is the projected salary for careers like this, et cetera. We focus on averages. We're not just, even if we spotlight someone who's very successful, we would also surface this is, what the average person expects to make. But one problem that, I definitely had when I was a young person is a salary number on a page in a technology platform isn't really meaningful to students. So this past school year, we released Pathful's lifestyle calculator, which helps give students a picture of the life that they can live based off of the salary that they have attained or would attain.
Yeah, I was looking at the lifestyle calculator. That's such a great feature. Can you tell us some of the interesting findings that now that you've got, let's see, I think it was 42,000 responders. What have you learned from that calculator about the students that you serve?
So we had 42,000 responders about a month or so after we released the calculator back in September. This feature, the usage speaks for itself. I remember the day that we launched it, we did a really quiet launch because it was in August. We wanted to do a big splash once the school year had settled in a bit. We didn't really announce that we launched it at all. And Ryan, my CEO, messaged me and he was like, "Hey, can you let me know when we hit 1,000. I want to make an announcement." And I went and I checked the data and I was like, oh, we hit 1,000 a while ago. We're way past. That was just in one day. So without any marketing or promotion of it, which speaks to both the need for educators to have financial literacy resources that are realistic, but also for students. Students are really interested in this. They really want to know, how much money do I need to live the life that I want to live? So at mid-February, we hit the milestone of 250,000 completions of our lifestyle calculator. Yeah, so really exciting numbers that let us know it is an indicator for us that continuing to develop this type of feature that gives students an authentic picture of the world after school is incredibly valuable. A couple findings we've seen. So whenever I tell someone about this feature, they're always like, "Oh yeah, but students are just going to pick that they want to live in a mansion, that they want to have the nicest things, that they always want the new iPhone." And so everyone's response is going to be 400, $500,000 a year is the salary they need. Actually, what we're finding is students are really reflective and really intentional with the way that they're thinking about their budgets after when they're adults. And we're seeing a typical average salary of between, 75 and 120,000 depending on where students are and where they're selecting to live when they graduate. So it actually was really eye-opening to me that I don't wanna say I'm surprised. It was very heartening to me to see that students are taking these decisions and conversations very seriously. They're already thinking about their future in a meaningful way. That was, to me, one of the most interesting findings. And then what really makes our lifestyle calculator special, in my opinion, is the level of data research that we've done. We worked with the Living Wage Institute out of MIT to both one, use their data. They've done incredible research that we could never hope to replicate on what is a livable wage. And then we worked with them to come up with calculations for a livable wage is one element, but we want students to be having a wage where they feel like they're thriving, not just livable. So we worked with them to figure out what multipliers we needed to use. And that data is at the county level. So a student can choose which city they envision living in, and we're going to create an experience for them that is based on that city or on that county where they want to live. And then we've also used a lot of other really modern data sources. We use Zillow data for housing costs because that is going to be the most up-to-date source for how much a house costs in a specific area is what is the current real estate price there. And since it's such a volatile number, using data sources that are updated every 3 to 5 years isn't going to give students the picture they need for their future.
Yeah, I would encourage listeners to go check out the lifestyle calculator. The findings are so interesting. 41% of students said they plan to have no children. 50% said their first car should be a used car. I think the majority said they were thinking they would rent. It sounds like we have a lot of pragmatic young people who are just maybe being a little more realistic, and they're using your tools to kind of figure out, what makes sense for them, at least at this point in time. So fascinating stuff. And I also think it's so important to set a purpose for learning. And I think the calculator, really, really helps with that. Also, the personality and interest assessments, all the videos that you all are creating. Sort of once that stage is set, can you say more about the actual skill building that students are doing? Like, what does that look like? Is it mostly video content? Are there hands-on opportunities, job shadows, things like that? Like, how are you making the actual skills that employers are looking for attainable and realistic for this audience?
So there are two types of skills that we focus on, and there's a lot of overlap, but there are the employability skills that are relevant to every single job, and they are things like teamwork, things like communication, and we leverage video content from real professionals who really use these skills in their job to talk about how they use those skills and provide advice for students. So we do offer that video content that you mentioned, but in order for students to really make informed decisions about their careers, I think they need to what we call try before you buy a little bit and have simulated work experiences that both help them develop career specific skills, but also help them figure out, is this actually what I want to be doing? So, what we did to solve that problem is about a year and a half ago, we released what we call industry led projects. So, I kind of alluded to them a little bit before in our conversation, but this is where we will work directly with an industry partner and typically multiple individuals within an industry and identify what are some really common, really standard problems that are representative of their career that they deal with on a daily basis that we can turn into problem-based learning experiences for students that mirror the way that the problem would be approached in the world of work. So those experiences have been really valuable for school districts and for individual students. We also offer the option for students to say, or for teachers to say, I want my students to have a live industry mentor to support them through this project. And then we will source a volunteer who will meet with those individuals or that classroom up to 3 to 5 times throughout the span of their project, and then see the presentation of their results at the end. And this allows students to have a really good sense of what can I expect from this job while also developing the skills that are specific to that career and getting real-time feedback. And I have had the opportunity to sit in on as a fly on the wall a few of these projects with one of our partner districts and watch students go through that experience. And one student said to me at the end, they said, I'm so glad that I did this before my first in-person internship because I did not realize how unprepared I was to go into the world of work. And I have learned just through this virtual experience so many skills. And they said, can I do the same project again? Because I want to do it again and do it better. So I thought that was a really special moment to just show how needed these before you step foot in the world of work experiences are.
For sure. Yeah. I think you and I probably both know many people who, went down a path, studied, got a degree or whatever, and then realized this is not at all who I am or what I want to be. And so having that exposure, this was really so important. Can you share a little bit about like what has kind of surprised you the most when you're developing new features for these products in terms of what students and educators actually need versus what maybe you initially assumed?
It's a great question. For me, it's not really surprising to me because I was in the classroom, but something I need to continually remind and advocate for across the board is just the importance of compliance. And that's something that Pathful has really in the past year, especially with our acquisition of Job Ready, doubled down on and made sure that we're able to provide. There is such a frustration when you are an educator and you see a tool that is so perfect and you love everything about it, but the report that it spits out, you know that that's gonna take you all of this time in Excel to manipulate that to be the data that you need to report on. Or, okay, this is amazing, but is it aligned to my academic standards, or am I gonna have to do that standards alignment manually? And teachers are incredible and they can do that work, but ed tech companies can also do that work for them so that they can spend time doing things that technology just can't do. And I think that continual reminder of the balance between creating incredible, engaging products that are authentic, where students are excited to use them, but balancing that with the reporting, the alignment that teachers need.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you say a little bit more or walk us through how the reporting tools that you all are working on actually help educators make better decisions about career readiness programming? Like, do you have any examples you could share?
Yeah, so we have when I think of our reporting and you brought up a perfect category of reporting that we offer, I think of our reporting in 3 categories. So we have the reporting that helps you understand, is your investment in Pathful worth it from a usage perspective? So I can see our teachers logging in, our students watching video content, how much time has been spent on the platform, really the basic reporting that you need to just feel like this investment's being taken advantage of, or do I need more training at a specific school because I see those users aren't logging in? And that's the type of reporting that we offer, but doesn't really address your question of how are we helping teachers make better decisions? Then we have this middle category in my categorization of reporting, which is the reporting that helps educators and districts better understand the students that they have in their district. So, an example would be with our course planner, since students can plan their courses starting as early as 8th grade or even 6th or 7th grade. Some of our districts are doing it for high school. They can create that course plan, and then districts can say, I have this large number of students that's interested in this particular pathway. I can better understand my staffing needs for, the year 2029 for when those students get to their junior year and it's time for them to take those classes. We understand that that's going to be a staffing need that we have. Or if I'm an individual teacher, I can pull a report that says 80% of my students are interested in agriculture as a potential career path, but that's not something that I address at all in my lessons or in the way that I connect with them. So I can bring in relevant resources, show them videos from Pathful about things about the agriculture career cluster and how students are, or how the skills that they're using, they're learning in class apply to those, and then bring a professional from that industry in to talk to my students. One of the most common requests we get is, I have this group of students that is really interested in beauty or this kind of career cluster, and I'm a chemistry teacher. Can we have someone who works in chemistry in the beauty industry come and talk to our student?
Mm.
Or could we have someone who works in agriculture and uses math every day in their job come talk to my math classroom? And of course, teachers can and do have those individual conversations with students where they learn about them and learn about what they're interested in. And all we want to offer there is that ability to scale that conversation, give students an assessment, see which careers they're interested in so that teachers can plan their lessons accordingly and create relevance that's really meaningful to those students. And I think that's where we really help educators make good decisions, or better decisions about the types of materials they're bringing in to their classroom. And then finally, the third type of reporting is really the strict compliance reporting. And that's where a lot of the functionality in our new job ready products shines in this area. But if you know your students have a threshold of a certain number of work based learning hours they need to hit, or you want every single student, or maybe your state mandates that every single student graduates with a resume and cover letter created or 3 potential careers selected, we can help you make sure that students are on track for that, and then identify the areas where maybe there's a specific school or a specific grade level that is struggling to meet those requirements, so that then we can provide either additional training or additional resources to get those students where they need to be.
So looking forward, or maybe you're already doing this with your reporting, how might AI and advanced analytics kind of reshape how educators are using data to guide students toward career readiness?
So we think of our AI strategy as a whole in terms of how are we helping students make better decisions about the careers that they want to pursue? How are we providing better, more localized, more intentional data into the careers that students are interested in? So if you're someone who lives in, say, Houston, Texas, how do we surface local data that is really specific and targeted to you as an individual to help you make those decisions? And then we have AI that's related to admin workflows and compliance, which is really what you're getting at in terms of reporting, but also just little ways that we can make things easier for educators every day. I don't want to give away too much of what we're working on, but we definitely are looking at that as a way to better surface insights, but also make things easier so that admin and educators can have more time to find those insights on their own. There are a lot of things that take a lot of time for educators, organizing courses and pathways when you're integrating a course planner, understanding groups of students and how students need to be organized. There's a lot of just little things. I was on a call recently with an educator who told me how much time he spends organizing his students into groups, something that AI could really easily support him with, and that we could features that would support that. And then, of course, reporting insights where we're surfacing maybe students that need additional attention. Where is it that perhaps a student's interests and skills don't match, and we need to help provide students with resources to develop those skills. Um, there's so much that AI can do, and we are just beginning to unwind that in terms of what it means for career readiness.
Absolutely. So I know the company has a focus on equity. Can you say a little bit about kind of as these products scale, how are you maintaining a commitment to equity and ensuring that growth doesn't inadvertently widen access gaps? Like thinking about, kids in maybe rural areas or urban areas where there aren't, the jobs of the future that, you know, we want to place them in. How does your product mind kind of address that problem?
I would say access is the number one barrier to equity that students face today, and those fall into either the jobs that I'm interested in are not near me, or the jobs that I'm interested in are 1 mile away, but I don't have transportation to get there. I don't have time. I'm not able to, in my schedule, go to, the next zip code over and have a career experience. And then there's also the kind of human capital, like networking that some folks don't have access to as well. And the way that we are really able to solve the first two and also able to solve the second is, or the third, is through our live connections with industry professionals. So there is a district that we work with that uses our industry-led projects that I mentioned earlier, and they use them embedded as part of their internship program. And they're specifically for students that don't have access for transportation and can't get on site, or if a student is interested in an industry that just doesn't really exist in their area, we're able to still provide a work experience for them. So we remove the transportation barrier and the geographic barrier by providing these virtual experiences. And then we also are creating connections and introducing young people to folks in their career field where they can maintain that connection and begin their network.
Yeah, those wraparound services are always such a sticky problem. Thanks for that. I'd love to hear more about the Job 360 acquisition. And, you've mentioned these four products, and Pathful came out of kind of a merger between two other programs. I've definitely, been in the edtech industry and have lived through those kinds of mergers, acquisitions, trying to figure out where products fit together. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of your vision for these offerings? Will they be offered together or to districts? Will they be combined? Sort of what's the roadmap?
Yeah. So with these four products, and we've really intentionally sort of set the boundaries of each product, we're able to offer everything that a district might need for career readiness and development, but not every district needs everything for career readiness and development. So we've intentionally broken up the products to be able to align to a specific district initiative so that they can purchase the products they need while not spending money on something that they don't. So if a district has a really strong CTE program, I would highly recommend that they purchase our Job Ready CTE product. It is absolutely industry leading in terms of the features. Every time a CTE director sees it, they immediately are like, I wish that I had this 3 years ago, 5 years ago, last week. I need it now. It's just revolutionary in terms of how easy it makes it for them to keep track of their pathways, to keep track of their students, to keep track of the all of the supplies that are used in a CTE program. If a district doesn't have a really strong, like a really big CTE program where they have to handle all of those logistics, maybe Pathful CRD on its own is sufficient for them. And then as they grow their CTE program, they may consider that product later. Some districts are prioritizing career readiness in K-5. We think that folks should. There's a lot of research that shows early career exposure for students increases long-term retention rates in K-12. High school students that don't have access to career resources are more, when they're younger, are more likely to drop out of school. So we do want to make sure that folks are providing that, but some districts aren't there yet. And so they don't need our K-5 platform at this time. To speak a little bit more to the Job Ready acquisition specifically, Pathful before this was really good at career exploration for those districts that had, or for those states that have really strong career readiness requirements, or for those districts that have strong initiatives around making sure awareness and exploration happens for students. We have a leading edge product there. Where we are starting to develop and starting to consider is if a district has a strong work-based learning program, they shouldn't have to purchase and go to an additional vendor. They might want to add on to their existing product, but they shouldn't need another place for teachers and students to go to make sure they're doing their work-based learning compliance or their CTE compliance. So we started talking about what would it look like to build these features. And then right around that time, we heard educators just like I was at ACTE, which is a big conference in our space, and every single teacher that I talked to was that I had, a previous relationship with. I was like, "So who else are you talking to? What have you seen?" And they were all pointing me to, at the time it was called EduReady, but to the EduReady booth. And they were like, "You just have to go talk to these guys. They're building such an incredible product. It's totally different from Pathful." And they're like, "You know what? Like, I love Pathful. I have this need that isn't being met by anyone else in the market, and these people are doing it." And so we're at this point where we could, try to build the incredible features and functionality that Job Ready has built, or we could work and partner with them and see what it would look like for districts to be able to have Pathful and Job. And that's really where the conversation started. And it just grew from there. And, about a year later, we were able to announce the acquisition and bring Job Ready into the Pathful family. And something that you asked a bit ago was kind of around, would these be one product? And we've both been through a lot of edtech acquisitions, and sometimes the combination of the two platforms can be really slow and frustration for users. The biggest frustration that I hear is I don't want my teachers to have two accounts. I don't want them to passwords. I don't want them to have two places to go. So starting this back to school, we will be able to offer, a combined authentication process where once a user logs into Pathful or Job Ready, they're able to access all of the products that they have access to in one place. So it's just kind of a unified way to access all of those platforms. For all of our platforms that serve 612 students. So we are really considering the best way to combine or create a really strong user experience for users that are across multiple platforms here.
Allie, I know you're working on a project in the workforce readiness space. Can you share more about that?
Absolutely. So Pathful has partnered with the Greater Houston Partnership in Houston, Texas to start thinking about what does it look like for AI to transform the way that both young people, but also adults in the workforce think about their career. What we're building is a way for individuals, whether they are residents of Houston that are adults working in a career, but maybe want something different, or young people who are starting out and looking to plan their career, one unified platform that's free to all residents of Houston where they can answer questions about what they're looking for and be provided with really high quality resources. And what we're doing that I think is different than anything else that I've seen out there is we are building really great AI tools that ask users the right questions at the right time to identify what resources we need to serve, what content we need to serve them, and ultimately what job might be a good fit. But we're also providing all of the data, all of the ability to research, the video content that you would expect in a standard career readiness platform. And so bringing both of those together in a really unique way. Um, I can't talk too much about it now, but we're starting to plan some pilots with a few districts and community centers in Houston in the late summer and this fall. And you should definitely keep an eye on the Pathful and Greater Houston Partnership space to see what's coming out of there.
Exciting. That's very exciting. Allie, thank you so much for joining me today. I've really enjoyed learning more about what you're working on and your approach to helping learners prepare for meaningful futures. It's really important work, and just appreciate everything that you guys are doing over there. If listeners would like to reach you, where can they find you?
Absolutely. I am Alexandra Fuchs on LinkedIn. And also, I highly recommend you follow Pathful on LinkedIn, especially if you're interested in getting involved with our mission and helping young people find their careers. You can volunteer with us, and we'd love to have you, or just keep an eye to see what we're developing and putting out next.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Allie.
Thank you so much, Jill.
Thanks for tuning in. If today's conversation sparked new insights or challenged your thinking, we'd love to hear from you.
Visit flexion.us for more information and join us here next time on Chalk and Code.